In this SQL query tutorial, we will walk through the basics of the SQL Select clause. In doing this, we will introduce order by functionality, show how we can identify and remove duplicate records in a select statement, and create column aliases to generate new labels for our columns. This is the first querying video in our data analysis using SQL series. And if you'd like to, you can find all of the links to the playlist and other helpful resources in the description below. Also, please subscribe to the channel so that you can be informed of future SQL query videos. And without further ado, let's query some data. So in this series, we are using the Sakila Database, and that database really models a DVD rental store. And in this video, this is the ER entity relation diagram. And in this video, we are only going to be using the actor table, which has 4 variables: actor ID, first name, and last update. All right, so select is a great place to start, as many of the queries that we will write where we want to basically return some result set or set of records based on tables in our database, we'll all start with select. So select is a super important word in SQL. And so the select clause begins, of course, with the word select, and it will tell us or specify which variables or columns will be returned in our final result set. All right, so we will write in its most general form a select star, or which is the asterisk. And if you say select star from a table, in this case we'll use the actor table, our query will return all of the rows and all of the columns that are found in the actor table. And so you can run this query using the lightning bolt, which will execute all queries, or using only the current statement using the lightning bolt that has the cursor on it. You can also use the keyboard shortcut, Control, hold that down and press enter, or Control Shift Enter, which will run everything. So I'm going to hit Control Enter, and what I have is a result set that contains 200 rows of data, and this represents all 200 records that are contained within the actor table of the Sakila schema or database. And so what we can see here are that, these are our 4 columns, and each of those 4 columns is present along with all of the rows of data. Okay, so next, let's take a look at what we can do. So this is using the star, right? If we select a specific variable, say first name, from actor, what we get when we run this is all 200 records, but this time only 1 column, and that 1 column is the first name that we have specified. So our select clause is select first name, and this is the specific variable that we want to see in our result set. This time, let's modify it just a little bit. So this time, right now, the first names are ordered by the actor ID field, right? This time though, let's sort or order our results in alphabetical order. And so to do that, we can say select first name from actor. So the same body of the query that we had before. This time though, we will conclude by saying order by first name. And then if we run this query, we now have, again, all 200 rows returned. And this time our actors' names are in alphabetical order, A through Z. Now, the default for order by is ascending, but we could also explicitly say ascending by using the letters ASC. I'll capitalize this. And so that's just an explicit way to write that we would like ascending order. All right. If we say and I'm just going to copy this query and paste it. The only thing that I'm going to change this time is I want to return my results in descending order. So this time Z through A. And so if I execute that query, I still have the 200 rows returned, but this time they'll start with Z and then run all the way through A. Now, one thing that we can see when we have only the one column of first names is that we have some names that appear to be duplicates, right? We know that these are not really duplicates. So for example, and I'm going to copy and paste again. But for example, if we wanted to, let's say, look at both first names and last names for our actors, we could, and I'm going to put a comma here to separate the variables. So select first name, comma, last name from actor, order by first name, descending. All right. So if I run this, I can see that these really are not duplicated actors. They're just actors that have the same last name, the same first name, but different last names. Okay. Same here with Warren, and we have two different last names as well. And so this is just to say that, first names were really not duplicated, even though some first names appeared more than once. But let's pretend that that's not the case. Let's look at the case again where we are selecting first name from actor and we'll order by first name once again. And so we can see here what appear to be duplicate first names. So let's pretend that we just wanted to get a list of unique first names that appear in our actor database. And to do this, we can say select distinct, oops, if I can spell it correctly, select distinct first name from actor. And I'm going to order by first name. So when I run this, I will expect that, for example, the first names Adam, Albert, Angela, etc., in this view will only appear once. All right. So I'm going to run this query, and that is indeed what happened, right? So now each of the names appears only once. And when I look at my output, I now have, instead of 200 rows that have been returned, I have fewer rows. I have 128 rows that were returned from my most recent query. And the reason for that is, of course, that records that appeared more than once were dropped from the results. So now I only have 128 rows that are returned in my result set. So one final thing that we want to do to wrap up our discussion is to create an additional column of data. So say this time we wanted to count the length or the number of characters of the first name of each actor. We could write a query to do this, and so let's do that. So we want to basically we want to select, let's say, our first names again. This time we want to also select, and make sure to put that comma. I always forget that. But this time we also want to use the character length function to return the number of characters within the variable first name. Okay, and so that's what we are writing here. And then this, of course, comes from the actor table. Okay, and this time we'll also do our order by first name. All right, so when we execute this, we have in alphabetical order, and I didn't say distinct, so we have all 200 records, but we have the situation where we have our first name, which is the first variable that we included in our select clause. So for Adam has 1, 2, 3, 4 characters in the name. And so our car length first name, it holds a value of 4, right? Al, a value of 2, Albert, a value of 6, et cetera, et cetera. Let's take a look at how we can make this car length first name variable a little bit more readable. And to do that, we will use what is called an alias. And an alias basically creates a label that is used to label a column in this case. So for this, let's say we wanted to label this column of data as, let's call it fname length. Okay, so fname length. And if we run this with our alias, we now have 2 variables, first name and fname length. We created this alias by taking the variable that we wanted to label, including the keyword as, and then specifying the label immediately following the as. Now, we don't have to have the word as. What we could do is immediately following the function that created our variable, we could just have a space and then the alias itself. So we can run this as well. And we have the exact same output. You can also alias columns that already exist within your database. And so in this table, the variable is called first name. Let's say that we wanted to rename this as fname. And so immediately after first name, before the comma, we will write our alias. And so then if we run this, we now have output of fname and fname length, and that contains our first name values and our the length of those first names. All right, and this fname is really just a label. The variable as it's written in our table is still first name. All right, so this is only a fictitious name, if you will, or an alias that is printed in the results. Okay, that is our tutorial on the SQL Select clause. So we've gone over the basics of the select clause, order by functionality, distinct values, and then creating column aliases. And so I have a challenge for you. And if you want, you can leave your solution in the comments below. The challenge is for you to write a query that returns a list of unique actors' last names in alphabetical order, along with the number of characters in each last name. All right. If you believe that you have the correct solution, feel free to drop that solution in the comments below and hit subscribe so that you can get notified of the next video that we release in our SQL for data analysis series. Thanks for listening.